Today on this episode of Pretty Spooky Presents Creating Scaradise, we'll hang out at my home tiki bar, the Sunken Compass. And because the theme today is elegant and easy, I'll whip up a classic daiquiri while we work on our first cemetery DIY. We're starting with a simple and classic 2-in-1 cemetery banner that doubles for Christmas and Valentine's Day. Plus, I'll show you how I make my usual winter cemetery flowers for those of you looking for a more advanced DIY project. So let's grab a glass and get creative. While it's true that the classic daiquiri isn't technically tiki, it's the no-nonsense great-great-great-grandfather to the more complicated concoctions that we all love to fuss over. Most tikiphiles are happy to shake up a quick daiquiri as an easy and refreshing alternative to just pouring rum in a cup and sipping it neat. It's odd that just 3 simple ingredients, if you don't count the ice for shaking, always taste like it took more effort than it did. History books credit the creation of the cocktail to American mining engineer Jennings Cox, who was in Daiquiri, Cuba for a mining job. The story goes that Cox was having a party but ran out of gin, so he resorted to using the local spirit, rum. And the funny thing is, he actually created a recipe card for the drink, as if it was so complicated that duplicating the results would require fastidious execution and attention to detail. But sailors have been putting lime and sugar in rum for centuries. So in my opinion, Mr. Cox was being quite generous with his self-titled moniker of inventor of the daiquiri. However the simple sip came into existence, it's a permanent feature on the Sunken Compass guest menu, and no, it's not frozen. It's just one easy and elegant classic cocktail. Now that we've got our cocktail, we can get right to crafting. This episode is a follow-up to my first Grave Flowers video, which I'll link in the description. I received a thoughtful comment asking if I had any ideas for less complicated tributes, especially one that didn't require a glue gun. To be honest, I was stumped. I've been making my floral tributes for a few years and have the process down packed. I needed to design something simple, attractive, and inexpensive. It took a while, but I finally came up with an elegant and easy cemetery decor that doesn't require a glue gun or an investment in a ton of supplies. And the best part is, it does double duty. It's reversible and works for both Christmas and Valentine's Day. The supplies are stored easily and make about 4 banners. Everything including the scissors, markers, paintbrush, and removable hooks came in well under $30, and much of that is a reusable, one-time purchase. The banner looks great on its own or paired with my usual cemetery flowers that I change 3 times a year. For winter, Noel and love are perfect words for Christmas and Valentine's Day. Peace and honor are fitting for Easter and patriotic holidays that span spring through summer, especially for a veteran's tribute. For September through November, family and thanks are exactly on theme. On future banners, I'll try puffy style fabric paint with contrasting glitter for the outline, or iron-on letters, since the acrylic paint wasn't as opaque as I hoped, and the gold marker wasn't quite as crisp as I wanted. On the positive side, these were inexpensive, weatherproof options that dried quickly and were easy to work with. Plus, there's plenty left over for other banners. I considered using colorful sheets of craft foam, which would certainly fare well in rainy weather, but I preferred the look of the felt for its slightly more classic and cozy vibe. Gold or pearl beads would be such pretty spacers between pennants and would weight the banner in windy weather. If I wasn't combining the banner with my usual flowers, I would add little bows on the sides, tie on a small sprig of faux greenery with pine cones, berries, and add a cute little craft store bird perched on one side. Butterflies would be beautiful in the spring and summer, and orange leaves and acorns would be a gorgeous addition for fall. When it came to attaching the banners to the tombstones, I already had 4 existing command-style hooks to attach my seasonal flowers, but mine are facing downward or upside down to secure the floral tributes in stormy weather. I was able to attach the banner to the tulle ribbon that holds the floral arrangements. If I was displaying the banner alone, I'd only need 2 hooks at about a 45-degree angle facing toward the back and top to tie the ribbon to the sides of the tombstone. I'm delighted with the way these turned out. There are so many possibilities when it comes to materials, paints, colors, shapes, and finding the perfect words that bring comfort to you and your loved ones. These banners can be kept simple or adorned creatively to personalize them. Either way, they're an elegant and easy cemetery decor that anyone can create to honor loved ones year-round. As promised, for those interested in a slightly more advanced DIY, I've included how I make my traditional cemetery floral arrangements. I make 4 arrangements 3 times a year with theming and durable construction that lasts at least 2 holidays. To span both Christmas and Valentine's Day, I use red roses and winter greenery with red and gold ribbon. The reversible banner adds to the 2-in-1 holiday flexibility of these flowers. The supplies shown here make 4 arrangements. You'll need far fewer flowers if you're only making 1. You can get a different perspective with the fall version in the episode titled Death in the Afternoon, DIY Grave Flowers and Cemetery Visit. Plus, we explore the history and beauty of some of my favorite southern cemeteries, and we visit 2 where I install the grave flowers, even after dark. So it's definitely a good episode to check out. Today, while I craft, I'll share images of other grave flowers I've made over the years. Some turned out better than others, but they've all been made with love. The foundational design and structure has remained the same. Since they've withstood 2 major hurricanes, I decided there's no need for any improvements on this surprisingly strong combination of foam, burlap, wire, and hot glue. Plenty of hot glue. Cutting the foam in 3 sections and gluing it to the burlap ribbon helps the arrangement sit atop tombstones of various sizes and shapes. I cut the foam sheet so it makes 4 arrangements. I have 2 sets of solar lanterns that I rotate each season, making sure to remove the battery during storage and set them in the sun to recharge while I make the next season's arrangements. I reuse the lanterns for several seasons and periodically replace them as they become worn. I use all of the parts of the faux florals, including extra leaves and even the plastic-coated wire stems, which make better floral picks and staples to fasten ribbons and bows. They're more durable in the elements than store-bought wired wooden floral picks, which break and rust in the elements. There's nothing wasted here. Even though I use the same basic form and methods, the arrangements always come out differently, based on what's available or where I get my supplies. Sometimes the ribbon is as showy as the flowers, and other times I find interesting ornaments and accents that become the focal point. When choosing supplies, I consider versatility, durability, and cost, especially since I'm making 4 at once. For example, I choose plastic greenery over fabric leaves, and I double check that the flowers and leaves don't fall off the stem by easily giving them a good hearty shake in the store. If parts fall off on aisle 6, it certainly won't last in the elements for up to 4 months. I have found that florals, ornaments, and ribbons are deeply discounted as the holiday or season draws to a close. I use a clear plastic lidded bin in my garage to store the bargains, and many times I purchase ribbon right after the holidays that is neutral enough to be used all year. I don't like wasting time, space, or money, so buying supplies all at once that are versatile enough to use all year at a discount and take up less room is perfection in my book. I start with the biggest, boldest flowers as they are what stand out the most and dictate the design. I work in balanced opposition. It doesn't need to be exact and nothing is measured, but when I place a flower on one side, I balance it with another to match on the other side. I've also found that groups of 3 are most visually appealing, and creating a little triangle prevents accidentally placing flowers in unnatural-looking rows. I glue each stem before inserting it into the foam. There's nothing worse than seeing parts of someone's faux flowers blown all over the cemetery and chopped up by lawnmowers. I attribute my copious amounts of hot glue to the durability of these arrangements and their ability to withstand hurricane-force winds of over 100 miles per hour. The basic filler greenery is next, which covers most of the foam before I decide where I want to place the winter greenery. The longer branches lengthen the arrangement and soften the edges, so I save these for the ends, knowing that these will also be great anchors for the trailing wisps of Spanish moss I add once I get to the cemetery. I save a little seasonal greenery for covering the wire staples I made to fasten the burlap in the front of the arrangement. I highly recommend using tulle ribbon to anchor the 4 sides, since it's much more durable than it looks, and its grippy texture keeps the arrangements tied down all season. Again, the hurricanes had nothing on my hot glue and tulle. Surprisingly, I've only had to replace a couple of the removable hooks over the years. I always bring a few extras just in case. I've bought the brand name hooks and even a couple of knockoff types. They've all held up well and don't damage the smooth granite at all. We don't have any bumpy tombstones in our family, so I'm not sure how I'd attach the flowers if there was a textured tombstone that wouldn't accept the removable sticker that comes with the hooks. I might use a stake in the ground on both sides, angled to create tension, and one in the back with an attractive ribbon tethering the flowers down. I'm glad I haven't encountered that challenge yet, but if I did, I'm certain I'd find a way to make it work. When choosing your supplies, make sure they are non-marring to the tombstone. I've seen grave saddles made of metal wire that sit atop tombstones, but they can rust and damage the stone and are easily blown away in high winds. For my grave flowers, the only thing that comes in contact with the tombstone is the burlap and tulle ribbon, and neither of these pose a threat to the granite at all. And it's always important to learn what's permitted regarding additional ornamentation to grave sites. Some cemeteries won't allow anything on the ground as not to impede mowing. Almost all frown upon anything glass, and while it is certainly more rare, there are some cemeteries that don't allow faux florals at all. Just be sure to check out what's accepted before you pour your heart into creating a tribute for your loved ones. Now at least we've got the elegant and easy banner that will surely be accepted at almost all cemeteries, just in case your loved one's place of rest is one of the more strict cemeteries. And speaking of strict, be certain you're able to flip the banner mid-season and replace the flowers at season's end. Honestly, I've gone a little longer than I like between visits, a time or two, but I always feel so sad when I see a grave with autumn flowers in the spring, and I love it when my loved one's place of rest looks well kept. I take pride in beautifying their grave sites and want them to have the most elegantly adorned tombstones to show my love and respect for them endures far beyond their time on earth. Abandoned, abused, yet still alluring in its decay, this cemetery with grave sites dating back to the late 1800s is one that I explore more deeply in the video linked in the description. Today the grave we'll visit is my great-great-great-grandfather's, who passed in 1905. Just as before, I've blurred his last name as a courtesy to family. This time I arrive during the fieriest of sunsets and leave at a beautifully glowing pink dusk, so it'll be a short but gorgeous visit. Whenever I remove the previous season's arrangement, I'm usually greeted by lizards who like to live amongst the flowers. It seems a Mediterranean house gecko and Cuban anole are cohabitating nicely in this one. Since this is not a maintained cemetery, there's no trash receptacle. I bring a trash bag with me so I don't make a mess of my car. And because critters love to settle in and get cozy, I give the flowers a good shake and let them sit out while I install the new tribute. I don't want to accidentally become a lizard chauffeur. If you're planning on creating tributes for your loved ones, I'll list a few items that I find helpful to bring along. I previously mentioned spare hooks, a trash bag, and Spanish moss to cover any gaps created when the foam base conforms to the shape of the tombstone. But I also bring a pair of scissors, just in case last season's tool was difficult to untie, and a spray bottle of dish detergent mixed with water, a small scrub brush, and some paper towels. Personally, I'd love my tombstone to be covered in a velvety blanket of bright green moss, dotted with fuzzy lichens and surrounded by a ring of giant toadstools. But I'm pretty sure that's not my loved one's style. So to help keep the granite shiny and unharmed, I give it a little scrub and wipe when needed. The addition of the reversible banner to my seasonal tributes gives me another reason to visit this strangely enchanted place, which attracts good Samaritans and vandals alike. Inside the gates, there's a difference in the air, a bit of heaviness mixed with otherworldly etherealness. Coming here reminds me of the imperfect, transient, and fading beauty of earthly objects, with a distinct feeling that conjures thoughts of Momento Mori. Time is fleeting, and life is a pretty spooky adventure to celebrate and enjoy fully. What lies beyond is fascinating. Thanks for coming along to the cemetery and joining me for today's elegant and easy cemetery decor and the equally as easy classic daiquiri. I loved being your haunted hostess. You were a wonderful guest and you're welcome back always. Farewell until next time. Cheers.